Okay, hi. Thanks, Tiffany, for the introduction. My name again is Christy. I run the emerging business in OCBC, Singapore. Essentially, this is looking at small businesses, less than 20 million sales turnover. So let me just share the screen here. Can you see my screen now? Okay, so today the team and I are here to really essentially share with you the various relief measures out there and also the various digital options available so that during this trying period, you can better buy, sell, and operate. Before we start, maybe we can just do a quick poll. Sorry, just do a sound check. Can everybody hear me? It's good, right?
Yes, not a problem.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
So before we start, maybe we can just do a quick poll on what are some of the top concerns you have for your business during this period. You'll see on the screen now, flashing across for the first question. There are various options listed. Your top concerns during this period could be your cash flow, could be a decline in your revenue, could be also your business cost because you have to, even though it's a semi-lockdown situation, you still need to get the manpower on, you still need to pay rental, or all of the above. If I can give you 3 or 5 seconds to pick your options before we can share the results of all who are participating. Okay, Tiffany, I think we have almost
Okay, currently we have about 50%. Probably we'll just give another
maybe another 5 more seconds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, sure.
I see almost there's a wow 81% of those of you who have actually polled participated in the poll listed that all these 3 are your top concern. Thanks for sharing. Not a surprise actually. If you look at maybe you can move on to the second question. The second question, if you need financial assistance now, do you know where to go to look for help and what are some of the options available for you? So the first one is, of course, looking for financing alternatives like the bank, for instance, going back to your reserves or a combination of A and B. Okay, Tiffany, do you have the results?
Just probably give another 5 more seconds.
Okay.
Okay.
And 64%. It's interesting here because actually 34% of them will say that they will look for financing alternatives. That's the reason why I'm here today, to share with you all the various relief measures. And 64% will actually choose both A and B, which is your going back to your company reserve. Thank you all for participating. Maybe I can move on to the next slide. This is just to get us started. So as early in February this year, right, just before, I think, Chinese New Year period, when this whole crisis started, actually SCCCI did a survey with about 200 SMEs spanning across F&B, retail industries. So again, all the 200 participants, almost 8 out of 10, say that the top concern for them is the decline in revenue, and also 1 in 2 say that cash flow is a top concern for them, which is no difference from the results that you have just participated, the poll. So that's why today I think we are here to share with you what are the various options available for you so that you can plan out your financing options. So since the beginning, as early as March till now, we have the bank itself has actually reached out to more than, in fact, the numbers have been updated. As of last evening, we have spoken proactively to more than 10,000 customers of ours, discussing with them, advising them, sharing with them what are the various relief measures that's out there in the market. Why are we doing this? Because we know for a fact, and we hear from more than 10,000 SMEs, the same concerns you have, which is declining revenue, the drop in the footfall, obviously with the lockdown situation, and especially customers who have retail outlet, is almost fallen down to zero. They have high operating costs, and also with the lockdown in many countries, as a massive disruption to their supply chain and demand. So today, my role here, together with my colleagues, Greg will be coming on shortly. I will be focusing on 3 key areas. I'll be sharing the next 10 minutes on the working capital support. I believe most of you who registered for today's webinar is very curious to find out what are the options available for you. Okay, so if I can refresh your memory, as early as February, when we had the budget, all the way to March, as well as the latest April 6 relief measures announced by the government, there are various relief options made available to the businesses. But from what we understand from the customers, they are also confused. Despite the many publicity out there and a lot of literature and a lot of information on the web and social media, I think a lot of our customers are still pretty confused what are actually available for them and which one should they opt for. So perhaps I can spend the next 10 minutes going through the various options. Feel free to ask questions. And if I can't answer them, don't worry, the team will get back to you. So specifically today, I will touch on the bridging loan, the moratorium, how it works, as well as the trade financing. Now, the bridging loan, how this works is, I'll try to slow down because it may be a bit complicated. So it's actually a up to 5 million term loan. Term loan as in every month, it is an equalized monthly installment, and it's actually up to 5 years. What you do need to take note down here is, even though it's 5 million, it's up to 5 million shared across all participating banks. Meaning if you have a loan with, if you have a bridging loan with Bank A, let's say $500,000, you'll be left with 4.5 million available with other banks, right? And whether you're eligible for whichever limit is also subjected to every application will be individually assessed, and your eligible limit would then be made known to yourself, to the applicant. So this is one thing you should take note. Again, the interest rate is at an all-time low at 2 to 3%, because I think you've seen the latest announcement yesterday. MAS is also coming out to step into with the funding. So we, all the banks, including OCBC, we are passing all the costs, the savings back to the SME. Another example of us passing the savings back to the customers is that for this period, there will be no facility fee, 0 facility fee when you apply for a bridging loan. Okay, so how this loan work is, if you apply for the bridging loan, assuming you are eligible for say 100,000 loan, you can also choose to apply for a 6 or 12 months moratorium on your loan. What is a moratorium? Essentially, a moratorium, the principal moratorium is a deferment of your principal amount for 6 months, assuming you choose a 6 months. So during this period, you only need to do interest servicing. Let's take an example. If you apply for a bridging loan on 1st of June, right? And at the same time, you tell your banker you want to opt for a 6 months moratorium. So between 1st of June to 31st of December, you will only be servicing interest on your loan. Come 1st January 2021, your P plus I will then start to kick in. So this is what we mean by you can choose to opt for 6 or 12 months moratorium. You can also choose not to opt for a moratorium, meaning if your loan is approved at 100,000, you can choose from 1st June onwards to start servicing your P plus I. So this is how it works. We will try our best to come back to you within 2 business days. As you know, we've spoken to more than 10,000 SME and we have overwhelming response. So we are committed to come back to you as soon as possible because we know during this period is especially critical for you to maintain your cash flow. So for this option is actually available till 31st March next year. So you notice there's a QR code here. So if you scan the QR code with your phone, your camera, it will bring you all the way straight to the OCBC product page. So this is everything about the bridging loan that you need to know. Next, moratorium for secured and unsecured loan. So firstly, for secured loan, what this means is that if you have an existing commercial property or equipment loan, you can approach your existing banker or your existing bank for a principal moratorium up to 31st December this year. So how this works is, for instance, come 1st May, you go to your bank and say that I have a existing commercial property with OCBC. I would like to have a principal moratorium. So between if your loan is approved from 1st May, you will have 1st May all the way to 31st December to enjoy a principal deferment, meaning you will only do interest servicing during this period. What is not listed here is at the same time, you can tell your banker you want to extend your existing loan tenor for the tenor corresponding to your moratorium period. So meaning, this is how it works. Assuming you have you apply for a principal moratorium for 6 months till 31st December, you can extend your existing commercial property loan tenor by another 6 months. So 6 months moratorium period, extend your existing loan tenor by another 6 months. There's no facility fee involved here, and there's no documentation needed. All you need to do is to approach your banker, assuming OCBC, and we will process this application for you. And you will get your approval within 2 business days. Now, say during this period, if the situation improves and your cash flow has improved tremendously and you wish to stop your moratorium, you can just write into the bank or inform your bank to say that you want to stop your moratorium, and you revert back to straightaway P+I. It's that simple, no fees involved. So that's for secured loan. Now let's come to unsecured loan. Unsecured loan, what this means is that you have an existing unsecured loan with no collateral with the bank. So assuming you have a unsecured loan, say of about 100,000, you'll then go to your bank to say that, okay, I would like to explore a principal moratorium of 6 months or 12 months for my unsecured loan. Now, what the distinction between this secured and unsecured loan is that for unsecured loan, my apologies, the unsecured loan, this is an option, a relief measures that's made available by OCBC to our OCBC customers. Whereas this secured loan moratorium is an industry-wide initiative by MES. So I hope I make that clear. So back to unsecured loan, which is a relief measures put together just for by OCBC for our OCBC unsecured loan customers. You can approach OCBC for your principal moratorium, 6 months or 12 months. Again, no facility fee, and we strive to give you approval within 2 business days. Again, you can choose to extend your loan tenure for your unsecured loan by the correspondence moratorium period. So meaning, if you apply for 6 months moratorium period, you can choose to extend your existing unsecured loan tenure by another 6 more months. So this is the whole illustration on moratorium, secured and unsecured. For secured, I would advise you to approach your existing banker to ask for illustration so that you can understand the full impact of how the moratorium will impact your interest repayment. So with that illustration, it will be easier for you to make a decision whether you still want to proceed with a moratorium or not. Why do I say that? Because we have customers who come to us initially wanting to ask for a moratorium, but after we share the illustration with them and explain to them how it works and how your interest repayment will be impacted, they usually will go back and think about it, and they will revert to the banker to say whether they want to proceed with the moratorium, because they may choose not to. Instead, they may choose to apply for a, like what I say, the bridging loan. It does not mean it's one or the other. You can, of course, choose to have both a bridging loan as well as a moratorium all at the same time. So what I suggest for you to do is to approach your existing banker. In the case, if you're OCBC customer, please come back to us. We will provide you advice on what is perhaps the right option for you, be it getting a new bridging loan or a moratorium for your secured or your unsecured. I'll move on to the next page. This is on the trade loan insurance scheme. For customers who want to apply for a trade loan now, there's actually a scheme available now in the market. The difference here is that the rate now is highly subsidized. There's an 80% subsidy on your insurance premium. The rate now after subsidy ranges from 0.25 to 0.5%. And this subsidy is available till 31st March 2021. So again, as this is a bit more complex, not as straightforward as a bridging loan, I strongly advise you to speak to your banker to see whether a trade limit is more suitable for you or a bridging loan is more suitable for you. So in summary, what I've just covered in the last 12 minutes, the bridging loan, recap, a 5-year term loan, up to 5 million limit, shared across all banks, right? The interest rate is 2 to 3%. Maybe I just flash back. 2 to 3%, no facility fee, right? This is our commitment to help our customers during this period. For every new loan, you can choose to opt for moratorium or no moratorium. What is moratorium? Essentially, moratorium is a principal deferment. During this period, you will only choose to service your interest. You can choose to defer for secured moratorium, you can defer up to 31st December. For unsecured moratorium, this is a relief measures put together by OCBC for our OCBC customers. You can choose to defer 6 or 12 months. So this is the difference between the secured and the unsecured. For both, there's no facility fee and almost zero of minimum documentation. Yeah. Trade loan, I mentioned, this is a bit more complex. I strongly advise you to speak to your banker. So these are the various email addresses. You can, of course, log in and express your interest, and someone will be in contact with you, or you can immediately whip up your phone, scan the QR code, and bring you to the landing page, and we can follow up with you after that. I think over to you, Tiffany. 1 second.
Okay, thank you, Christy. So next up, we have Mr. Gregory Trotter, Head of Cash Management from OCBC Bank. He'll be sharing more about the different cash solutions that are relevant for SMEs during this COVID-19 period. So over to you, Greg, please.
Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you, Christy, also for taking us through the financing solutions. That
I am so
OCBC...
sorry, but okay.
No problem. We're a bit jumpy today, I can see. Okay. What I want to do in my part of the discussion is really to talk about some of the solutions we have that will help you continue to run your business during these trying times. Christy talked about some of the financing options. I want to go through what we can do on internet banking, what we can do with Pay Now and SGQR, what we have in terms of a dashboard for you to manage your business, as well as how you can apply for accounts online and actually do your own incorporation online as well. The whole underlying theme here is how can you effectively work from home, work from remotely effectively. So on the next slide, what we're showing you is hearing that from our customers. They're trying to grapple with these kind of questions right now. How do we best manage during this time? Right, for all of us, the circuit breaker is a first. We have not had this kind of exposure before. We've probably all worked from home at some stage. But when we worked at home, it's probably been for a conference call or maybe to balance some family commitments that we've had to manage as well. Whereas now when we're working from home, actually everyone is working from home. We don't have a team in the office that we can rely on. And therefore accessing information is critical. You need to know what's happening with your account. You need to understand what's happening with your business. And from that perspective, obviously, you need to have the oversight and the overview. Christy, maybe you can go to the next slide for me, please. During this time, obviously, business doesn't stop, as you are very much aware. In fact, your suppliers still need to be paid, your utility rentals potentially still have to be paid. And as a result of that, you need to really manage your cash flow. Hopefully you've got collections coming in. You need to know that they are coming in in a timely manner, or be able to follow up with your customers as well. On the next slide, we start showing you what we can do in terms of our internet banking. So hopefully you're familiar with our internet banking at OCBC, Velocity at OCBC. Effectively, it's an opportunity for you to see the overview of your financial health. It shows you what transactions you want to do. It shows you whether there's any authorizer who's potentially at a home in a different location who has to release transactions, whether he or she has done so. It shows you your current balances, of course, and it allows you to do transactions in terms of normal payments as well. What we've recently expanded on is our trade capabilities, digital trade capabilities. So you can apply for a letter of credit now. You can also apply for trust receipt financing, invoice financing, apply for bankers guarantees, as well as standby LCs. The other thing that we are going to talk about in a couple of the subsequent slides is Pay Now and SGQR. Both of these can be registered on Velocity. And what we're seeing at the moment is that a lot of our customers are really increasing. Sorry, I'm still on the previous slide if we're okay. In terms of the number of digital customers, you can see about 65% of our customers are digital now. We're seeing a pickup in these numbers. More customers are coming into us to do more things digitally. So to facilitate that, even though our system is very intuitive, we've also provided additional help in terms of how-to guides for some of the standard transaction types for new customers who are coming in to make it easier so they don't actually have to contact the bank to be able to proceed with the transactions. Bottom right corner, you see the plus 60% of mobile usage up in the last 3 months. This is quite staggering. And as a result of obviously the circumstances that we have now. Christy's desperate to get to the next slide, so let me move on to the next slide where we talk about some of our mobile capabilities. We do have One Look, One Touch, which are biometric capabilities that allow you to view your last transactions at just a glance effectively. The app is continuously secure. However, if you want to go in and see and do any transactions, you have to go through 2FA, two-factor authentication, either with a hardware token or with a soft token that you can download digitally through your phone as well. We also, as I mentioned, we have real-time notifications. And I think the item that is most interesting and potentially for yourselves is really the ability to do fast transactions. So fast transactions is really the ability to make transactions within 15 seconds. And I think during these times here, as we're working remotely, it's possibly going to be very well aligned with the government's directives to be check-free by 2025. Or customers wanting to make payments directly via FAST and therefore get payments done in 15 seconds. On the next slide, we sort of talk about what's the driver behind FAST. So Pay Now, you've probably heard of, it was launched in 2017 as a peer-to-peer payment mechanism, i.e. individual to individual. You can make payments to a proxy. You don't have to know your beneficiary's account details. So in the peer-to-peer case, you can do it to an NRIC number or to a mobile number. Then in 2018, Pay Now for Corporates was released, or was launched, I should say, which allows customers to make payments to company UENs. Right. So in this form, you're able to actually not know the account details again, and actually make a payment directly to the UN that tends to be on most companies' invoices. Right. From OCBC perspective, we have 53 Pay Now transactions per month until the end of July. There's no lookup fee, so we're looking to incentivize people to use this. We've also seen a huge pickup in terms of about 87% increase over the last 3 months in terms of the usage. So on the next slide, we talk a bit about how this can benefit you. First of all, there's cost savings, right? So You don't have to manage physical cash if you collect by Pay Now, and you don't have to manage any expensive MDRs if you previously received digital payments, maybe through a card mechanism. The majority of incoming collections through Pay Now are done by a QR. Christy was already showing you QRs on her slides. This is how the majority of Pay Now transactions are enacted effectively, people scanning a QR and then making a payment. In this safe distancing time, clearly contactless collections is important for the businesses where you currently have employees interacting with customers. They can keep themselves a distance, don't have to manage the cash. We've talked about funds coming in instantly through the fast mechanism, so within about 15 seconds. Often it's done in 1 or 2 seconds. It's secure, you don't have to manage the cash, and you can generate Pay Now or register for Pay Now on Velocity. You can then generate a Pay Now QR on Velocity or your mobile, and then effectively cut and paste it into your invoice if that's what you want to do. You can see at the bottom, this red ticker at the bottom hopefully draws your attention to some of the items we're looking to highlight for you. There's a fee waiver effectively until 2022 in terms of any incoming Pay Now transaction that you set up or conduct. Furthermore, on the next slide, we are wanting to highlight this because there are a number of activities happening in the country that are really promoting Pay Now. You've seen a number of government subsidies and rebates being offered through Pay Now. The way they are effectively doing this is to make those payments first. So if you have registered for Pay Now, you are likely to receive your payments much faster. I think in the first round of the job support scheme, their payments went out effectively 2 weeks before those without Pay Now. And then after those 2 weeks, a check is being issued, which still has to be received and then physically deposited. So clearly the Pay Now is a much faster and efficient way from a cash flow perspective to receive the money from the government. The Association of Banks, ABS, is also looking to try and help and incentivize. And what they're doing there is that for the first 20,000 businesses to actually register on Pay Now, they're going to pay a $25 incentive at the end of the scheme. They're also going to provide an additional $25 if you have 10 Pay Now transactions before the end of May, and another $25 if you have another 10 transactions before the end of July. So you stand to effectively earn $75 just for going digital with something in these times that's not only going to help you and your business, but in your customers, and there's a little incentive that they're providing. To also attract the individuals to support the other side of the transaction, there's also, I think, 10 weeks of transaction winners potential to effectively get a lucky draw for 100 winners on a weekly basis. Then, as I mentioned before, number 4 here, you can register for Pay Now through Velocity or mobile. And then we can talk a bit about SGQR. So maybe on the next slide, and I'll come back to point 3 here in a minute, but on the next slide, we talk about SGQR. In some of our discussions with customers, there's sometimes a little bit of confusion, difference between SGQR, Pay Now QR, different types of QRs. So just to sort of summarize here, SGQR is effectively the mother of all of all QRs. It brings all of them together. The background to this was that there were too many different QRs being popped up at various different outlets. Government felt it was confusing for consumers. It looked kind of confusing as to which one to scan. So they brought everything together under SGQR so that there's only one QR with lots of different payment channels. And as you can see, Pay Now is effectively one of those solutions. So in every SGQR, under the left-hand side, you can see Scan to Pay. You can see all the different emblems. All these different thumbprints effectively are the different payment modes that would be acceptable for this SGQR. So if you are a company, ABC Singapore here with all of these, then anybody can scan the QR with one of those payment devices. If you just have Pay Now, you would only see Pay Now under the Scan to Pay bar, indicating that that is the method for payment. SGQR registration, by the way, is free. With OCBC, when we do that, what happens is we effectively will send out 4 labels to every outlet that is registered. That generally takes about 5 to 10 days to reach you. Obviously, under the existing scenario, might take a little bit longer. So bear with us if it's a delay there. Okay, I've been talking for a bit. I'd like to try and do a quick poll, get your feedback and involvement. Tiffany, maybe you can release the poll. So the third question, or the first of my two, is really to see how your business has changed, right? In terms of no contact, does it actually change the way you do your business? So maybe I give you 5 seconds or so to make hopefully a simple choice between yes and no, and then we can see kind of what the poll response shows. So Tiffany, you let me know when you've got a decent return in terms of the number of people responding, and then we can
probably we just give another 5 more seconds.
Of course, yes.
Okay, and I'll be showing the results.
Thank you. So I think again, yes, obviously the majority of you see that impact. Thank you for sharing. Clearly, that's what we'd expect. So maybe we go on to the second question, that is then how, right? If you have one of these 3 options, then which ones of these would you be looking at in terms of how you would actually want to be changing your business? And again, I'll give you a couple of seconds to navigate and choose a response. Okay, drum roll. Tiffany, what do we got?
Great. I think we probably need to give another 10 more seconds because the question is a bit long. Yep.
Fair enough. Yes, no problem.
Okay, and I'll be showing the results now.
Thank you. Okay, so quite wide across the board. Using digital marketing tools, it came in at about 70%. Contactless collections and payment solutions is of interest, so it's another 63. And then also quite high still in terms of digital apps to track business operations. So all of them are quite high. Again, appreciate your feedback. Hopefully this insight also helps you a little bit in terms of understanding where you sit along with a number of other customers. So on the back of this, maybe Tiffany, you can close the poll and we'll go on to the next slide, Christy, if that's okay. I want to talk a little bit about our digital business dashboard. This effectively is a dashboard, as it says, that we rolled out at the end of 2018. What it allows you to do is actually choose from a number of different apps that you feel are most critical for you to manage your business, and then consolidate those into a single view. So the idea here is that we don't provide you with a predefined dashboard, but rather you choose those apps that are most relevant to your business. Whether that's an accounting app, which we've seen quite a lot on, whether that's analytics, whether it relates to sales, whether it relates to HR and attendance, all these things can be brought together so that you have a single view of the key metrics for you to manage your business. This is available through our Velocity platform as well. And again, if you hopefully are attracted to the red bar at the bottom, this is free to our Velocity clients, and that's how you access it. The accounting one, just out of interest, is the one that's is the most popular to date. And if I go to the next slide, just to sort of say this is something that there's some positive feedback from a number of customers. I think we have a number of thousands of customers using this. You will hopefully also see the small print at the top left. Just a disclaimer, of course, this picture was taken before the circuit breaker. Otherwise, unfortunately, we wouldn't have an OCBC staff sitting so close to a customer. Hopefully we'll again soon though. So this is a free service, as mentioned. Again, you might be drawn to that 12-month free subscription at the bottom. We have special arrangements with Xero and Dashboard, as well as a number of other apps that we can provide incentives for. And again, we'll be happy to discuss those with you to see which ones can be best applicable to you to manage your business most effectively. On the next slide, by now I'm hoping you're thinking, okay, yes, Velocity might have some value for me there. How do I get hold of the Pay Now authorization or application, SGQR? One of the ways is simply to open an account with us, and we have that ability to do that for you remotely. You don't have to come into a branch or necessarily provide documentation, depending on your company. We have an account that has no initial deposit, no minimum balance, and no fall below fee. It also offers free gyro and fast transactions. I do have to specify it's those two particular ones, free gyro and fast transactions, and only for about $10 a month in terms of an account maintenance fee. The other thing that we've done is, if you are in the process of actually incorporating a new business, we've teamed up with a partner called Awesome. They do corporate services online, and effectively, without you having to go in and talk to people, you can do this whole process online now, account opening, as well as a business incorporation. And obviously, as you can see at the bottom again, there's an exclusive 8% for OCBC customers when you go through this online channel to register your business. So again, trying to allow you to continue to do new things from home, working remotely while doing this tough period. The last couple of slides, I want to talk about IMDA. We're working together very closely with them. Christy started us off with how we are looking to work and provide solutions for you to help you with your buy, sell, and operate. On the next slide, we've got some of the partners that we've teamed up with in order to enable digital solutions. We have strong partnerships with these names here, whether that's to provide you accounting linkages, whether that's help you to sell, whether that's help you to manage your expenses. There's a number of our partners that we believe will be of advantage for you to be able to expand your business and manage it remotely and digitally as you continue to grow, right? So I think with that, I basically want to say that, you know, we feel we have a number of solutions to help you out on the cash side, whether that's the digital platforms for initiating transactions, whether that's a digital platform for managing and overviewing your transactions through a dashboard, whether that's registering for a new account or incorporation, registering for Pay Now, registering for SUQR. A lot of these things now can all be done digitally, and we want to be there to facilitate with you. Obviously, things are changing very rapidly at this time. And on the last slide, we just want to show that we continue to partner with different organizations that we feel can help our customers. Obviously, this is one of those where we feel that we have an opportunity to share with you. You can see that tomorrow we have another one with a speaker, Amazon, and then next week we have another one with Encore Global. You can't click on these right now because obviously it's just a sharing. We will be sharing this with you, however, and allow you then to sign up yourself if you want to go through and listen and attend any more webinars. So I think with that, I'll wrap up my session and see if there's any questions that you might have. Tiffany, I'll hand back to you at this stage. Thank you.
Okay, Kensha, thank you, Greg. Okay, before we start with the Q&A session, just a quick note for all the participants. We'll be sending you the presentation deck, okay, after the webinar session, but do give us some time to edit the slides, the deck, before we send it to you. So without further ado, now let us welcome back our two speakers for the Q&A session. So as mentioned previously, if you have any questions for our speakers, do feel free to submit them by clicking on the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen and type in your questions. Do note that we are only able to capture your contact if you do not answer the, you do not post the questions as anonymous, so that if in a situation, if we are not able to answer your questions, we'll be able to, contact you directly via email. So last but not least, for those, because of the limited time, we apologize if any of the questions is not being answered. We will try to email and contact you guys directly from down there. So without further ado, probably we will have Christy and Greg to come back. Christy, maybe if you like, you can stop sharing your slides so that you can click on the Q&A icon and to see the list of questions that being posted up. So I can see on hand there is quite a few questions. So we'll give the participants some time to fill in some of the questions that they have. Okay. And Christy, can I have you on the line with us?
Hi,
yes,
lovely.
Christy. Yes. Second. Yes, I do see Greg there. Okay, so I do have the first question. Okay, by Melvin. Melvin, from what I see, his question is that what's the limitation for OCBC loan that you can share that other banks probably could not, and if he has hit the limit for the loan, can OCBC still be able to provide him loans? Maybe I think what he's trying to say that if he has hit the loan, maybe in other banks, will OCBC still be able to lend him some loans on top of that? So maybe Christy, I'll have you to answer this question.
The limit across the, can you hear me?
Yes, not a
The
problem.
limit across the industry for the bridging loan is 5 million. So, and it was just introduced not too long ago. So I don't think it will be breached so soon. So yeah, I think there should be still quite a lot of the limit left available.
Okay, Kensha, I hope Melvin, that's answer your question. And
sorry, back to this. In the event that the bridging loan is, if the SME has already reached the limit of the 5 million in the event, right? There's also the trade limit available, the short-term financing trade. So that is another 5 million as well.
Okay, I think the most important thing is also to ask maybe your relationship manager or the account manager from OCBC to be able to assess your company at the end of the day with regards to your loan. So moving forward, Melvin also has the next question is that because he's from the F&B industry, before this COVID-19 virus hit in, he's actually discussing to have overseas expansion. So will this loan be included in the current, temporary bridging loans that you have, because he's thinking of taking the loan for overseas expansions, including buying a property, during this period? Yep. So maybe over to you, Christy.
So the bridging loan does not restrict what is the intent of the loan. So you can either use it to cover your operating costs, or you can use it to finance your expansion, be it local or overseas. So there's no restriction in terms of how you can use your loan.
Okay, thanks, Christy. I hope that answers Melvin's second question too. Okay, the next question I know, Ernie Cole, he has questions on, is there any annual fees, processing fees if they apply the bridging loan? I think this is a question that's been popping up quite frequently. So maybe Christy, off to you.
Okay, so only for exclusively for our OCBC customer during this period, we understand that it's a very difficult time for our customers as well. So we'll make it such that there's zero processing fee for the bridging loan during this period. So to answer the question, there's no processing fee if you apply for a bridging loan with OCBC.
Okay, Ernie, I hope that's answered your questions. Be an OCBC customer and definitely you'll get the processing fees all, free. So next up, we do have someone under the anonymous. I think there's a question regarding the fintech and traditional banking. So he wants to, understand the difference of applying directly, through, third companies like FSBOT. FSBOT is more like funding societies, one of the loan services. So maybe Christy, can you explain the difference, maybe the fintech way and banks like you guys, what's the difference going on? Yep.
I think especially during the COVID time, the difference is very minimal already. In fact, if you apply the loan with your existing banker, you have advantage because we already have details of your operating account. So with that, we are able to process your loan much faster and with no documentation required. And because you already have a relationship with us, we are able to service you faster and better. And also the other thing is if you apply with us during this period as your existing banker, we are waiving the processing fee as well.
Okay,
there won't be any other fees during this period.
Thanks, Christy. I hope that's answer.
Sorry, I want to clarify, there won't be any processing fee during this period.
Okay, sure, no problem. Yeah, I hope that's answered the difference of the fintech and the banks, their loans that's coming in. And I do have another questions, okay, on unsecured loans. Okay, does unsecured loans includes overdraft? That's, I think, another questions on loans. So
I'm not sure how this question is it relating to moratorium? Because it's not clear.
Okay.
Because it is not clear, because if you have an existing unsecured loan, term loan with OCBC, you can do a moratorium on your term loan, the unsecured term loan.
Okay, I hope that helps to answer on the question.
Tiffany, I would like to answer the anonymous attendee on the bridging loan. Wait, let me just click on this. Do you see the question?
Yes. Okay,
Okay, so this is a bit more technical. Would you like to read it out?
Yeah, sure. So under the temporary bridging loans, just to reaffirm one of the participants, for the 1-year tenant approved for 1 million on 1st June 2020, and he has opted for a 6-month moratorium, come 1st Jan 2021. Does he or she needs to service the 1 million repayment based on the balance of tenant? In this case, 6 months. Probably Christy is off to you.
So how this works is that if your loan is approved on 1st June for 1 million, you opt for a 6 months moratorium, meaning principal deferment. So during this 1st June to 31st December, you will be doing interest servicing. Come 1st January 2021, to the rest for the remaining 4.5 year of your term loan, because it's a total 5-year loan, right? So you're already 6 months moratorium. So what you left is a 4.5. So you will be doing the P+I servicing on your loan, on your 1 million loan for the rest of the 4.5 years.
Okay, I hope this helps to answer our participants who have needed assurance on the temporary bridging loans. Okay, probably my next question would be for Greg. Christy, you have answered quite a few loans questions. So the next question is on SGQR payments, which is off to Greg. The participants here has the SGQR payments activated by Nets. So does it mean that it is pay now ready for his company?
So I guess two things here. In practice, it should be. What you would need to check, of course, is that your SGQR sticker or label that you have has Pay Now on it, right? So to the extent that you would have had to go through a 2-step process, you would have had to register for Pay Now with your bank, right? Or had your bank do it for you. So you would have to know that first of all. And then secondly, you should be able to receive an SGQR label that in that label under the red line that I showed before, it would have to be a Pay Now icon, which would indicate that you are ready for receiving Pay Now.
Okay. Since we are on the SGQR payments, okay, there's another question by David. Okay, David is asking if he is on Pay Now with another bank, can he still sign up with OCBC? So probably you can further elaborate from there.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's a good question. Yes, you as a company have the choice to determine which bank you want to have or which bank account you want to have linked to your UEN. So if you are already registered with another bank, you would have to go into their website or their internet banking and deregister, and then come into OCBC through Velocity and then re-register. It's not something that we can do and to move you across. You have to be the agent to make that change. But yes, it is possible to do that for any customer.
Okay, Ken, sure. Thanks, Greg. I hope David does answer your questions with regards to the Pay Now inquiries. Maybe off to Christy. I think the next question that I have is quite common. A lot of participants always ask, what are all the documents required, not just the financial statements for a temporary bridging loans. So probably you can recover a bit on like the documents required for the SMEs, and maybe is there a differences if they are a startup, entrepreneurs versus maybe they are a company that is more established on the documents required for these bridging loans.
Sure. I think just now in my slides, I've covered 2 types of relief measures, 3 types actually, specifically moratorium as well as a bridging loan and trade. For moratorium, there's no documentation required because you are going back to your existing banker for a moratorium. So we already have your information. As such, you do not need to submit any documentation. But if you're applying for a new bridging loan, depending on the case, you may be required to submit financial statements of up to past 2 years financial statements, but it's better that you have a discussion with your RM. Not all the customers are required to, at this point.
Okay, I hope that helps to answer some of the questions on, what kind of supporting documents for these temporary bridging loans. Okay, next up, we have another questions on, I think this is quite common, on whether is there any early repayment charges for full payment before the loan tenant ends. for the temporary bridging loans, working capital loans. I think especially during this COVID-19 period, because nobody knows, how fast this COVID-19 period will end. So, in a situation, if the market turns for the better, is there any early repayment charges going on?
Tiffany, there's no early repayment charges for full repayment before the loan tenure ends. So what this means is if you take up a 5-year loan, at the end of 2 years, you feel that you are already on track, you have enough cash to pay down your term loan, you can feel free to approach your banker and call for early repayment. There's no penalty.
Okay, I hope that helps to answer one of the participants' question. Okay, next up, I have Michael with me. Okay, I believe, during this period, because of the COVID-19, there was a lot of changes in terms of the effective interest rate, especially on the bridging loans. So, Michael has a questions on, the bridging loan he saw previously was 4%, but now it's different to 2 to 3% interest rate. So maybe, Christy, can you just share a bit more? What's the differences going on? And
yeah, so the 4% was previously what was, I think, this is like stock market, it keeps changing. So 4% was, I believe, 2 weeks ago. I think I need to remind my marketing colleagues to change the interest rate on the website. As of now, we are offering 3%, but we are now in the midst, because with the MES announcement that just came out about 48 hours ago, we are now working to get the MES funding approach done. So with that, come say maybe next week or the week after next, we should be able to offer 2.5%.
Okay, I hope.
But currently, we are already offering at 3%.
Okay, Michael, I hope that.
Michael, right, Michael. So Michael, you can actually approach OCBC to, if you are interested in a bridging loan, and at this point, it is 3%.
Okay, sure. Michael, I hope that's answer on your inquiries on the OCBC effective interest rate. Okay, next up, I have, by Kiwi, is there any yearly turnover to qualify for the term bridging loan or SME working capital, especially for new companies? I think the question that I always have from people is that, especially, before the COVID-19 period, the company is probably earning revenues and stuff, but because of this COVID-19 hitting in, they face revenue issues, to provide proper supporting documents that the company is, still has profitable. Is still profitability. So, from OCBC view, what are maybe some of the things that you guys look out for, especially those industry like F&B who are being badly affected?
For us, regardless of industry, we'll be extending the TBL, the bridging loan to the customer if they qualify. The minimum vintage is 6 months old. Sorry, my apologies, 6 months old. So for startups as young as 6 months old, I believe we are the only one in the market to do so. You will be able to apply for a bridging loan with us.
Okay, I hope that's answered Kiwi questions. Okay, next up, I do have Tina. Tina is saying that their business is transforming to e-commerce. Will OCBC grant the capital loan? So in other words, maybe some of the participants may have questions is there any certain industries that the loan is being granted more or less, or what kind of criteria in terms of or if their business is just transforming to another kind of industry, will the grant still be granted to these companies?
So like I said earlier, I think one of the attendees asked the question, the purpose of the loan for overseas expansion. We do not restrict the purpose of the loan. So you can use the loan for expansion, to go into digital solutioning, for upgrading, to pay for your operating costs. Not an issue. You can actually apply for a loan for this purpose. But how much you're eligible is of course subject to each and every application to see the strength of your company, and then the loan quantum will be assigned accordingly.
Okay, I hope Tina, that helps to answer your questions on it.
But just want to clarify, because it's not very clear in the question, if the SSIC is registered, say for instance, it's a retail, but it has totally changed per the SSIC, then of course, the applicant need to inform the bank about this. So you have to take into consideration the change in the industry type. Yeah, because it's a total change of business operating model.
Yeah, I believe OCBC also need to assess like the new business model and everything before moving forward down there. Okay, I next up also have another participants who is asking, I think, kind of a similar questions to whether is it only applicable to operating company or investments holding as well. So maybe operating company, you know, the changes we've already touched on, but maybe investments holding, Christy, you can just cover a bit more to add on from there.
The moratorium is for operating company. The bridging loan is also for operating company.
Okay, can sure. Thank you. And you know, next I think is a question after, you know, you have talked about so many different kind of loans, maybe from the SMEs perspective, they'd like to know what's the difference of the working capital loan and the temporary bridging loan, especially during this period. Maybe Christy, can you re-emphasize a bit of the differences, and maybe which is the type of loan that you encourage SMEs to go for moving forward?
Okay, the biggest difference now, in fact, all the banks should be offering the bridging loan. The biggest difference is the limit. The bridging loan limit is 5 million. The working capital loan, it's I believe is 600,000.
Okay, can sure. Thanks, Christy. Okay, I hope, you know, Yiming, that's answer your question. Okay, do note that we are in short of time, so I probably only can pick up another 2 to 3 more questions. For those participants, I know that you guys are still typing some more questions in. You know, we will answer it offline from down there. So probably I'll give Christy a break first, because now I have another question for Greg on the SGQR code down there. So one anonymous is asking, does PayNow or SGQR, you know, consider payment gateway for e-commercing?
Sorry, can you repeat that one? Sorry,
Okay.
I didn't see that.
Oh, it's below down there. Does PayNow or SGQR consider payment gateways for e-commercing? Down there, I think what this person is trying to say is that, you know, for SGQR, you know, is it applicable for their e-commerce, you know, business? You know, how does it goes about everything? Yep.
Okay, so I think for e-commerce, there's the likelihood they are receiving payment is you can use the PayNow QR. You don't have to put a single SGQR on a web page if you don't want to, on a payment portal. There you could have a click button choice where you could click on a different payment method, or you could pick on PayNow, and then that would go straight through and generate a QR that would be specific. So you wouldn't have to specifically do SGQR. SGQR must be used for physical presence on a storefront or at a kiosk, but not online. There you can choose PayNow QR or SGQR if you wanted.
Okay, thanks, Greg. I hope that's answered one of our participants' inquiry. I know that you'd also like to pick up the next 2 questions. The first question is that, you know, must the participants must he or she, you know, submit the SGQR to OCBC to add PayNow? Okay, so maybe you can take off for that question on the SGQR.
Yeah, so the way the SGQR works is that whatever is the last scheme that you add, they will automatically add whatever you ask to what you already have. So if you already have an SGQR without PayNow, for example, then you would come to OCBC and register your PayNow into SGQR. We would then send you back the labels with whatever you had before plus PayNow. So it's really last in will simply top up to whatever you have. If you don't have anything, then you simply come in and apply for PayNow on an SGQR and you get that. If you already have something in your SGQR, either other payment methods but not PayNow, you simply then ask OCBC to add PayNow, and we will send you back your label with the PayNow plus whatever you have.
Okay, thanks, Greg. You know, talking since we are on the SGQR PayNow, right? I think this is a common question that a lot of the companies also have. Is there a limit amount for the PayNow transactions? Yeah, so maybe, you know, is there, you know, it's like for personal banking wise, you know, sometimes I will have to create a limit to it. So is there a limit, or, you know, it can be unlimited for the PayNow transactions going on?
Okay, I cannot give you a single answer. I have to give you a multiple answer. What that means is if you're doing B2C and you therefore have a consumer making a payment to your business, it'll depend on the limit set by your bank. So in the case of OCBC, we've set a limit of about 5,000 for a payment to be made by a consumer to a business. There are other banks in the market that I believe have a lower level, but I wouldn't be in a position to confirm exactly what those levels are. That would have to be checked. If you are looking at making a PayNow transaction from a B2B perspective, corporate PayNow, B2B, then it's the limit of FAST, which is 200,000. So if it's business to business, 200,000. If it's consumer to business, it's 5,000 for OCBC, and usually a lower level for other banks. Hopefully that helps.
Okay, Kensha, I hope that answers on Michael also. Sorry, Michelle on the pay now transaction. Okay, I think I'll just pick up the last question, which I quite commonly seen, and that question is for Christy, is on loans issue. Okay, so the question here is about Hari. Hari is asking, like, during the loan moratorium, okay, when we repay the principal at a later date, will there be any additional interest to be paid for the principal? I think what a lot of SMEs concern now is that because of this COVID-19 hitting in, they may face problem of paying the principal at the end of the day, and they may have to pay at a later on date. So will, is there any fees or penalty or additional interest that they will have to pay in this case?
Okay. There's a few components to this. I'm assuming, let's say you're applying for a loan moratorium for your secured, right? So if you apply for a 6 months moratorium, during these 6 months, you're deferring your principal moratorium. So between 1st June to 31st December, you only do interest servicing, right? So you will only start to repay from 1st January next year, P plus I. Your outstanding that you have not been paying during this moratorium period will then be accumulated to starting from January. So in a way, the P plus I will increase from 1st January onwards if you do not extend your loan tenure.
Okay.
If you extend your loan tenure of your existing loan, you will be able to stretch out your P plus I for equivalent period. So my advice to Hari is that, number one, speak to your banker, hopefully OCBC, and ask them for illustration how your interest repayment will be impacted with the moratorium. With that illustration, you will then be able to make a more informed decision whether, number one, you still want to proceed with your moratorium, or number two, you do not wish to proceed with a moratorium but apply for a new loan.
Okay, thank you, Christy. I hope that answers Hari questions on it. Okay, we have really reached more than 4 p.m. already, and we do know that there's quite a few questions still going on down there. But rest assured that we will be sending off another email for you guys. If you have any questions that is sensitive, or you would like to follow up with OCBC Bank, you can just email to OCBC Bank directly, or you can also just email to Singapore Chinese Chamber, and we'll forward it to OCBC Bank. So I hope this session is a fruitful session for both the participants to understand more about the different loans available at the current moment, especially during this COVID-19 period, and of course the the digital payments that Greg has also shared down here. So we'd like to take this opportunity to thank Christy and Greg for their time to share this information to our SMEs down here. So I hope the participants have a valuable presentation and understand more about the different loans that they can source for. So thank you, Greg, and thank you, Christy. We'll be ending the session as of today. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Thank you.